Yo, what's going on, guys? It's J-Mass. In today's video, we'll be ranking miscellaneous items from all 6 New England states. This will cover a variety of New England-related things, from symbolic icons like state flags and state seals, to government-issued IDs like license plates and driver's licenses, to important buildings like state capitals and tallest buildings, and everything else in between. This is a ranking idea I've had for a couple months now, and I'm excited to get started and give you my personal opinions. And remember, of course, these are just my opinions, so please let me know down in the comments below if you agree or disagree with any of my placements. Anyways, let's just get right into it. Ranking miscellaneous items from all 6 New England states, from worst to best in each category. I'd say the Connecticut state flag is my least favorite New England state flag because it's so incredibly boring and uninspiring. Rather than having any iconography relating to the state of Connecticut and its history or culture or natural landscape, we're given a blank white crest with 3 grapevines and some leafy acorns, slapped on a blue background. Even the Latin phrase, which means, "He who transplanted sustains," is boring. This flag seems like it was born out of pure necessity rather than passion. No, Connecticut, I don't want your damn grapes. You know what? I honestly think the Massachusetts state flag is the 5th worst New England state flag, and that's coming from me being a masshole myself. Not only is the blank white background pretty boring, but the seal that's lazily slapped onto it is just straight up problematic. You have a hand holding a sword modeled after Miles Standish, a pilgrim noted for his violent brutality against Native Americans, and directly underneath him, you have a Native American. The symbolism of subjugation is pretty apparent. Also, it's ironic that this native is meant to be an Algonquin, but apparently it was modeled after Thomas Littleshell, an Ojibwe originally from southern Canada. Like, at least get it right. Maine state flag is another boring seal on a single color banner, but honestly, this one is not horrible. See that moose in the middle of the seal? I like him. I like that moose. This moose gets my support. But other than that, it's a pretty uninteresting flag. I mean, I'll give them credit for trying to represent Maine's history, culture, and nature, but in practice, the flag really doesn't stand out to my eye, especially when viewed from far away. I think it's also the artwork. This looks like it was drawn on Microsoft Paint. The New Hampshire state flag is honestly not too bad either. Again, not to beat a dead horse, but having a seal stamped on a single color banner is boring. Yeah, we get it. It's uninspired and lazy. But despite that, I love the ship being launched on the coast, with the sun rising up from the ocean. It's such a cool look, referencing New Hampshire's early maritime history. Even the vibrant colors, especially the gold wreath, are likable. I just wish it was more interesting to look at. It serves well as a seal, just not as a flag. You know, I didn't expect Vermont's state flag to place this high for me. But, well, here it is. Yes, it's a seal on a solid blue banner, real original. But if we ignore that for a second, I find the artwork and presentation here admirable. You got a badass looking deer head on top of the crest. Below it, a beautiful scene from some rural Vermont farmland. A tall pine tree, a cow, some bales of hay, and the soaring peaks of the Green Mountains with a hazy sunset overhead. Then you have some pine branches with the phrase, "Freedom and Unity." Come on, that's fire. When I think of rural, scenic Vermont, this is what I think of. Alright, you may or may not agree with me here, but I think Little Rhode Island has the best flag of all 6 New England states. To me, what makes a good official flag is simplicity and recognizability. And this is a simple flag that can still be effectively recognized from far away. Think about it like this. Half of these flags were seals on a blue background. They all blend together. But then there's this one, a golden anchor with 13 stars circling around it, emboldened with the simple yet powerful word, hope. This is not a complex flag that overstays its welcome. It makes a strong statement. I also like how this flag is a smaller rectangle than the rest, leaving out unnecessary blank space and focusing on the central iconography being presented. Truly a banger. So apparently this is the state seal of Vermont. I mean, what the fuck is this? It looks like something I would have designed on Microsoft Paint in the computer lab in 5th grade. The beige background is ugly, that quote-unquote pine tree is ugly, the bales of hay look like cauliflower, and the forest is just the same exact tree design copied, pasted, and resized with no variation. And then you have the tacky gold lettering, with that pathetic excuse for an ampersand. Yeah, this is not it, Vermont. Last place. Once again, I'm just not feeling Connecticut here. This is a variation of the state seal used on their state flag, but at the very least, unlike the previous seal, it has competent graphic design and formatting in place. Still, I just find it very boring and uninteresting and uninspiring, like they made this out of pure necessity to fit in with every other state, not out of any genuine state pride or passion to stand out. I really just don't think of vineyards or grapes when I think of Connecticut. This looks like the corporate logo for a law firm or something. Maine is once again landing in 4th place for another middle-of-the-road entry. Look, I said it once, and I'll say it again. I like this moose. I support this moose. This moose is cool, and he's my friend. We go way back. But aside from the moose chilling by that sturdy pine tree, this is a pretty bland and forgettable state seal. I just don't like the stark white background with too much empty space, nor do I like the weak gold border or the shaky artwork. It just looks like a quickly scribbled drawing rather than an official piece of artwork. You know, something you'd see on DeviantArt, frankly. Okay, look, my points about the Massachusetts state flag also still apply for the state seal. Incredibly problematic and misinformed. Despite that, in terms of pure design, this is a much better looking entry than that flag. I love the gold, blue, and white color scheme here, and I think there being far less empty white space actually helps in the seal's case. It's a strong, punchy seal that stands out from a mile away. I just wish the subject matter was better. Close but no cigar. Rhode Island state seal is number 2. While I still like this one quite a bit, it just doesn't hold a candle to the state flag. Still, I quite like the gold and blue color scheme, and I especially love the maritime aesthetic of this one. It looks like a naval emblem more than anything, which is very fitting for the ocean state. Again, it's simple yet effective, with a standout design reinforcing the state's maritime culture. Now this is everything I liked about the New Hampshire state flag, minus the crappy parts like, the actual flag itself. The New Hampshire state seal is so good looking, by far my favorite of the bunch. I love the vibrant colors being used here, which really stand out and draw your focus and attention. I love the ship, which by the way represents an actual frigate from New Hampshire's history, the USS Raleigh, built in Portsmouth and serving as a naval vessel during wartime. I also love the rising sun in the background, and the reef in the foreground. I just think that the state seal embodies the state's history quite well, with a phenomenal color scheme and design format. If I saw this from a mile away, I would immediately know it's New Hampshire's. Look, I'm sorry, Connecticut, but I have to put you in last place once again. The Connecticut State Quarter is hands down my least favorite of the bunch because, well, look at it. It's literally just a tree. I mean, I get it. This is meant to portray the Charter Oak, a famous white oak that once stood in Hartford, used to hide the Royal Charter of 1662 from the English. But this tree has been long gone since 1856. I'd rather see something relevant to Connecticut's history or culture or landscape that is still standing or accessible, and there are many options. But, most importantly, this is just a boring quarter. It's literally just a tree. I'm sorry, but I just expect more out of my US state quarters than a single tree. This might be a controversial pick, and I totally understand if you disagree with me, but I have the Maine state quarter in 5th place. Now look, I get it. It's a pretty scene. This quarter displays Pemaquid Point Lighthouse and Bristle, with a schooner in the distance. It's a very quintessential Maine scene. But, with that being said, my main issue lies with the design itself. I feel like this quarter suffers from far too much empty space, and frankly, the lack of color along with the subject matter being too small and far away makes it a bit of a strain to view. I just feel like I would have preferred a more detailed view of the lighthouse, or at the very least, more filled in. Not a bad scene, but it suffers from underwhelming design. Next up, I have New Hampshire. This one is pretty simple. It shows the Old Man of the Mountain, the iconic symbol of New Hampshire. I've always been a big fan of the Old Man of the Mountain as a state symbol. It just looks so unique and interesting. Also, keep in mind that when this state quarter came out in 2000, the Old Man of the Mountain still existed, so it was quite relevant to choose. I like the design, and it's pleasing to look at, but I must admit that it's quite simple, even more so than the previous entry. Still, I do think the simplicity of the foremost subject matter works well. Vermont presents us with a quaint, charming scene for its state quarter. A farmer harvesting sap from maple trees in the dead of winter, ready to produce maple syrup. In the distance, we see the famous Camel's Hump Mountain. This image so perfectly encapsulates the essence of rural Vermont, and I absolutely love it for that. It makes you feel like you're there as well, bundled up as you trudge through the snow, checking on the sap buckets. I love it when a state quarter perfectly captures the state it represents. Once again, Little Rhode Island is punching above its weight and landing in the upper end of my list. Simply put, this is just a fun, energetic scene. Here, we see a yacht speeding through the Narragansett Bay, likely during the America's Cup in Newport, with the Newport Bridge in the background. As stated before, I love it when these scenes capture the pure essence of the state, and this quarter really conveys Rhode Island's rich maritime culture. Not only is the scene great, but it's a good-looking engraving, taking up the whole quarter and wasting no space. Yeah, I'm gonna be a bit biased here. Massachusetts is my favorite out of all the New England state quarters. I mean, look at it. You got the iconic Minuteman standing in front of the state of Massachusetts. It's simple, yet effective, and even more so, it's badass. There's nothing that gets me going more than seeing Massachusetts' revolutionary past on display, as this really is the state that jump-started the fight for American independence. Thus, what better than to have this quarter represented by a Minuteman? It just makes me want to go grab a musket and fight off a tyrannical government for raising my taxes. Yeah, I really am proud to be a masshole, and this state quarter encapsulates that. From best to worst, just like that. Sadly, I have to rank Massachusetts as the worst New England license plate. What can I really say? It's extremely boring and forgettable. This is a blank white license plate with no interesting designs or graphics. It just says the state name and the spirit of America, which, while true, is not enough to make this plate stand out. There are so many designs that would have been amazing to see on a Massachusetts plate, and yet, all we get is empty white space. Maybe this is a subtle reference to the ridiculous amount of snow we get each winter. Connecticut's license plate is similar in that it features no interesting designs or graphics. However, what edges this one out for me is the admittedly beautiful blue color gradient on the plate. I've always quite liked the blue gradient used on this license plate. Still, aside from that, it is a pretty boring plate. I kinda like how they included an image of Connecticut in the upper left-hand corner, overemphasizing the missing notch where Southwick, Massachusetts is. Real subtle, guys. You're not getting it back, though. Now we're getting somewhere. Rhode Island lands in spot number 4 for being the first New England license plate with a true design in place. That being the crashing blue waves that define the ocean state and its maritime culture. Still, what holds Rhode Island's license plate from going further is that it falls short of being a truly beautiful design, instead relying on more empty white space surrounding the waves. Also, the blue color chosen for the waves is a bit on the grayish side, not making them look as pretty as they could be. I do like that little anchor though. Alright, Vermont's license plate is purely landing in the spot for biased reasons, primarily green being my favorite color. I love green, it's such a vibrant color. And, of course, that is fitting for the Green Mountain State and its vast hills and forests. I think the fully green color scheme of this plate works really well with promoting Vermont as a rural wilderness, as further exemplified by the tree in the upper left-hand corner. I don't know, there's not much else to say, other than this is a pretty plate to look at. Maine just recently adopted a new license plate model less than a year ago, but for the sake of this ranking, I'll be including their longtime model here. And that's a good thing, because this particular model lands Maine in the number 2 spot on my list. I mean, what's not to love? You have a cute little black-capped chickadee hanging out on a pine cone. surrounded by the vast backwoods of Maine. It's so peaceful and serene, and emphasizes the sheer size of Maine's natural beauty. It's also just a fun plate to look at, and I'll always have a soft spot for license plates that include animals or natural scenery. I'm admittedly not too fond of the nickname Vacation Land, as it implies that Maine is for visiting and not for living, but still, does this not want to make you vacation up in the woods of Maine? Here it is, my favorite license plate of all 6 New England license plates, New Hampshire. As I stated before, I love license plates that focus on natural scenery, and this full-color plate emphasizes the wonder that is the Old Man of the Mountain, symbolizing the rugged beauty of the White Mountains. I've always loved how the entire license plate is defined by this image, making it such a standout, colorful plate, drawing your attention to it. I also just find the Old Man of the Mountain to be a perfect symbol for the state, and seeing the entirety of the cliff face on display here works so well. I'll always be a sucker for license plates with full designs like this one. From first place to worst place, we have New Hampshire as my least favorite driver's license design in all of New England. As you'll soon come to see, this one is very boring, with no character or interesting designs. All we get is an empty off-white ID with a faint drawing of grapes in the background. Seriously, again with the grapes, what is it with these last place states and their grapes? Am I going crazy here? In what universe are grapes a symbolic representation of the state of New Hampshire? Did we not just talk about the Old Man of the Mountain a minute ago? You know what? Starting today, I am officially boycotting grapes. This is an outrage. Next up, I have Maine. I will say, from here onward, the rest of these driver's licenses are pretty nice, including Maine's. But still, this one just doesn't stand out against the rest. We have a huge outline of the state of Maine, with a lighthouse, another chickadee, and some fertile farmland. It's very Maine-esque, and I have no complaints about the design, but the drawings are quite faint and blend in far too much with the off-white color scheme. Again, not a bad ID, but I think it could have used more vibrant colors or bold artwork. My home state of Massachusetts is next, and I do have quite a bit of fondness for the Massachusetts driver's license, as it's something I look at almost daily. I love the inclusion of the State House in the background, along with the state outline right beside it. But, if I'm being honest, that's really where the interesting designs end. I would have loved to see the inclusion of more Massachusetts-related imagery, but alas, we just get the State House. I like the colors and the designs found on this ID, but it just seems lacking in terms of Massachusetts culture. Connecticut is really rising up here with its driver's license, landing in my number 3 spot. We have a lot going on in the background of this ID, from a fighter jet, to a submarine, to a compass, all signifying Connecticut as a center of navigation and military might. However, what I love most about this driver's license is the whale in the bottom right-hand corner. I mean, just look at him. He looks so happy, he's literally smiling. Is that not the cutest whale you've ever seen? Honestly, if I was judging these IDs on a more superficial basis, Connecticut would be number 1 specifically for this whale. I just love him that much. Once again, we have another item that conveys Vermont's vast forested and mountainous landscape in such a great way. I love the top of the ID where you can catch a glimpse of the soaring tree-covered peaks of the Green Mountains, with a sprawling forest beneath it. I also love the inclusion of the Vermont State House as well, peering out above the nearby mountains. It's a very green driver's license, and again, I love it for that. My only real gripe is how rigid this one looks with all the horizontal wavy lines cutting through the imagery, but I will admit, it gives it an interesting look and feel. This is just a very pretty and colorful ID with very definitive imagery. Rhode Island is once again landing itself a number 1 spot on this list, and for good measure. This really is my favorite New England driver's license. Just look at it. It's colorful and full of life, with vivid scenic imagery. We get a glimpse of the Narragansett Bay, with the Newport Bridge spanning over the Rose Island Light, a flock of seagulls flying by, and a sailboat gliding past. This really is quintessential coastal Rhode Island, all captured on a small driver's license. The artwork is incredible, and the colors truly pop. I love the sleepy, subdued purples and pinks here. This is what an ID should look like. The Connecticut State Police have the worst vehicles of all New England State Police vehicles for one simple reason: they're completely unmarked. What you're seeing is their primary vehicle, an unmarked silver Ford Police Interceptor utility. And frankly, I'm opposed to unmarked police vehicles in general, so the fact that nearly all of them are unmarked is not something I'm a fan of. Furthermore, it just looks boring. It's just a plain silver SUV. Wow, how riveting. No symbols, no insignia, no text, nothing. As if speed traps weren't bad enough. At number 5, I have the Rhode Island State Police with another less than mediocre police vehicle. Unlike the previous entry, this car does have text on it, but it is very basic and uninteresting. Furthermore, this is another plain silver vehicle, bordering on off-white if I'm being honest. This one really only edges out the previous car because it has text on it, and that's really about it. Not the most intimidating cop car to see on the highway, that's for sure. Now we're getting to the colorful bunch, beginning with arguably the most vibrant police vehicle, belonging to the Maine State Police. This one is an eye-popping sky blue, making it pretty easy to spot from a mile away. While the text and insignia on the car is pretty sparse, it really is just this bright blue color that stands out and lands this one at number 4. Not necessarily a police vehicle with any creative colors or patterns, but it is a nice shade of blue. As I've mentioned before, green is my favorite color, and thus, the Vermont State Police are making the upper half of my list with their police car. This SUV is a bright shade of green, fitting for the Green Mountain State and its endless forested highways. This is also the first state police car with some more flair to its design, adding a sharp yellow line stretching across the side of the vehicle. While I really do like the colors and designs, I think the only thing holding me back from placing this higher is that these cars look like they belong to park rangers rather than the state police. If I ever got pulled over by one, I'd almost half expect them to ask for my camping permit or something. I don't know if it's just me, but the New Hampshire State Police vehicles are the scariest. Like, even if I know I'm doing nothing wrong, and I'm genuinely driving the speed limit and being the safest, most aware driver there is, I still get freaked out driving by one on the highway. Something about the dark green siding with the beige roof and hood strikes fear into my heart. You also have the bright yellow lettering and insignia that pierce through the dark brooding colors, like a lost glimmer of light. Genuinely, the New Hampshire State Police have the most intimidating fleet of all the New England State Police vehicles, in my opinion. To me, this is the classic state police vehicle, and what I think of in my head when I think of the term state trooper, or as we locals say, statey. The Massachusetts State Police probably have the most iconic design of all the staties in New England, defined by a two-tone blue color scheme, with dark blue on the front and back siding, and light blue in the middle, by the driver and passenger side doors. Almost every day, I see these guys posted up on the side of the highway. They really are the most common and prevalent state police cars in the region, but at the very least, they do have the best design and color scheme. Hell, the blue paint job even matches the blue lights that will show up behind you when your taillight is out. How inspiring. This is the first list in the video where I think every entry is excellent, but that being said, there still needs to be something in last place. And unfortunately, the title of my least favorite New England State Capitol building goes to the Maine State House. Don't get me wrong, it's a great building. Built in 1832, this ornate granite structure is recognizable by its brown copper dome. But that is also what puts it in 6th place for me, the copper dome. Of all of these great domed Capitol buildings, I find the use of copper to be a bit tacky, especially for representing a state. It just doesn't carry the same elegance or grandeur of the other 5. Still, a great state house, but it pales in comparison to the rest of New England. Next up, I have the New Hampshire State House, a building which I always felt was slightly underwhelming. Again, to be clear, this is still a remarkable structure, built in 1819 out of smooth granite with a golden dome. It definitely gives me the vibe of a New England state house, and I love the quaint colonial vibe it exudes. However, the structure itself is a bit boxy, and I find it to be a strangely small building, despite being a Capitol building. It definitely exhibits the look and feel of a state house, but lacks the size and grandeur. Similarly, I have the Vermont State House next, another small-scale Capitol building. However, this one is slightly more ornate than the previous, with a larger gold dome and more elegant architectural ornaments. Built in 1858, this state house is once again made of granite, and it's ironically the smallest state capitol building in the entire United States. Yet, I think the Vermont State House exudes more elegance, and I frankly love the backdrop of the dense Vermont woods directly behind it. It's small, but mighty. The Rhode Island State House is probably the most classic-looking state house of them all, bearing a close resemblance to the United States Capitol building in Washington, D.C. Completed in 1901, this opulent structure is primarily composed of white marble, from the walls to the dome, and this is what I love about it. It looks so clean and sleek, like a neoclassical federal building you'd find in D.C. For being the state house of the nation's smallest state, the Rhode Island State House towers above the city of Providence, serving as a core part of the skyline and an iconic landmark. It slightly hurts me not putting this in first place, but nonetheless, I have the Massachusetts State House in second place. Let's be real here, this is one of America's most iconic state capitol buildings. Built in 1798, this brick and marble federal-style masterpiece is one of the most famous landmarks not just in Boston or Massachusetts, but in all of New England. Yet, what really defines this structure is the large golden dome, serving as a symbol of the city it resides in, and featured in many famous movies and shows. As a masshole myself, I am genuinely restraining myself from not putting this thing in first place, so I'll have to contend with second. But damn, this is such a great state house. I do truly think that the Connecticut State Capitol deserves the right to my first place spot as New England's greatest state capitol building. This thing genuinely looks like a palace, or even a castle. The ornate, lavish architecture stands out amid the Hartford skyline, built in 1878 out of marble and granite, and showcasing elements of various architectural styles, from East Lake to Gothic Revival to Renaissance Revival. Above, the Golden Dome towers over the structure, defined by its pointed spire. Standing in front of the Connecticut State Capitol as it looms over Bushnell Park is an almost intimidating experience, as this massive structure dwarfs you. The elegant ornamentation and decor that defines the exterior walls are truly a sight to behold. I gotta say, Connecticut was definitely punching above its weight with this one. Apparently, the tallest building in the entire state of Vermont is Grace Church in Rutland, which towers at a whopping 199 feet or 61 meters tall. Yeah, that's it. Not only is this a pretty lame tallest building, but it's also just not a particularly interesting looking church. Like, don't get me wrong, the design is pretty, but for the tallest building in Vermont, this is what we get? I'm not all that impressed. We have another church in fifth place, with this one being the tallest building in all of Maine. St. Joseph's Church in Biddeford stands at 235 feet, or 72 meters tall, another short height for a state's tallest building. At the very least, I find the design and architecture of St. Joseph's Church much more interesting than the previous. The color on the exterior facade of the church is quite pretty, and it truly stands out with that soaring spire. Still, I expected more from a state with a city like Portland. I'm not sure if this is considered controversial or not, but I'm placing Connecticut's tallest building in fourth place, primarily because it's a pretty bland skyscraper. This is City Place 1 in Hartford, soaring at 535 feet, or 163 meters tall. It's a pretty iconic skyscraper that defines Hartford's skyline, and by no means is it bad. But I just find it pretty boring if I'm being honest, especially when you compare it to other nearby skyscrapers in the city. For a state like Connecticut, which has a plethora of outstanding architectural wonders, this one is a bit of a slump. I've always had a soft spot for New Hampshire's tallest building, known as City Hall Plaza in Manchester. It's not very tall, only standing at 275 feet or 84 meters in height. However, I absolutely love the facade of this building. It's so pretty and colorful, and truly dominates Manchester's cityscape. This brick and granite tower is so vibrant and unique, one of the most recognizable structures in the entire state. I also love the gabled roof, which has a greenish hue. Genuinely a big fan of this one, which I know is maybe a weird take. If we're being honest, Massachusetts is home to what is perhaps the most iconic skyscraper in all of New England, or at least in competition with its next door neighbor, the Prudential Center. This is the John Hancock Tower in Boston, a soaring all-glass skyscraper that stands at a whopping 790 feet, or 240 meters, which also makes it the tallest building in all 6 New England states. Design-wise, it's pretty simple. It's a tall glass rectangle with a vertical notch in the middle, appearing blue in color. Aesthetically, I find it beautiful, and it really stands out amid Boston's varied skyline, serving as one of 3 super talls in the Back Bay neighborhood. While it's by no means a complex building, I still find this to be such an iconic and endearing structure. I don't think this is any surprise if you're familiar with me, but my favorite tallest building in all of New England can be found within Rhode Island. This is the Industrial National Bank Building, better known as the Superman Building, situated in Providence and standing at 428 feet or 130 meters. What I love most about this limestone building is its eye-catching design, built in an Art Deco style and serving as a unique snapshot of the era it came from, the late 1920s. I'm a huge fan of the Art Deco style, and this skyscraper is probably one of the best preserved examples of it. It's also such an iconic skyscraper, defining Providence's skyline and serving as one of its most recognizable landmarks. I think one of the coolest features is the beacon at the very top, which shines bright in the night sky. Hey, thank you guys for watching. I've been JMass as always, and these were some of my rankings of miscellaneous New England items, from worst to best. What did you guys think? Do you agree with me? Disagree with me? What was my most ridiculous take? Let me know in the comments down below, and also let me know how you'd rank some of these items yourself. Anyways, that's about it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and definitely subscribe to the channel if you're interested in seeing more New England related content, including more lists and rankings. Major shout out to all of my channel members. You guys are awesome, and I'd love it if you too, viewer of this video, considered becoming a channel member as well. You'd be helping me out a lot. Or you can follow me on Instagram, @JMassOfficial, that's @JMassOfficial. But that's all for today, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya!